Hello everyone, today we're working on a 2018 Toyota Tundra. We're going to be doing a transmission filter change. After we do the filter change, we're going to be doing a transmission flush. The fluid we're going to be using today is the Amsoil Signature Series, low viscosity ATF, and I've got a sheet here on it that shows you all the specifications on the back here. Meets and exceeds all the specifications for the Toyota WS specification. And this fluid is a chemically engineered synthetic, and it runs 20 to 50 degrees cooler than petroleum-based oils, which helps extend the life of all the soft materials in that transmission. By running 20 to 50 degrees cooler, your seals and everything will last much longer. And it also cuts the wear back significantly to help the hard parts last longer, all the planetary gears and so on. The other thing that I have is a website, fluidcapacity.com. And that website shows you all the specifications at Amsoil, or all the different lubricants that Amsoil recommends for each cavity. And it goes through and gives you the filters as well, all the different filters. And it also gives you the capacities of all the fluids in that vehicle, from the engine to the cooling system, transfer case, transmission, differentials. And it's printable. You can do this for each one of your vehicles. And the other thing is the transmission filter gaskets. We're going to be changing those out, and right here is the one from Toyota, and here's the part number for it, for the filter. And this is the replaceable gasket, and there's the part number for that as well. And then there's also an O-ring for that filter where it bolts up to the valve body. So that gives you all those numbers. First thing we're going to do is we'll probably check this transmission fluid level before we get started. We have to be at around a maximum of 118 degrees Fahrenheit, and you can use a scope to do that, like a snap-on scanner or something like that to get that temperature. There's also another way to do it through the LDL connector. What I choose to do is shoot the temperature right on the transmission pan, and once it's up the temperature that I need, then I go ahead and check it. So I try to simplify it just using either a temp gun, and what I'm going to use is an infrared camera. So I'll show you that procedure as well, but first thing we'll do is check the fluid level, and then we'll drop the pan, get the dirt load out, and put that new filter up. And so we'll get started with this. Okay, we're going to bypass this thermostat for the transmission cooler. And I've got a 1/16 inch drill bit right here. And there's holes in the side of this this nut, or this right here where the plunger's at. We're going to push that plunger in the center, and then we're going to push that drill bit in. And there's a hole on the opposite side too. Okay, so right there we've got it bypassed, and now the flow will go no matter what the temperature is on the transmission. And we're going to check this transmission fluid before we start, and it's still a little warm. We're letting it cool off. It needs to be between 109 and 118 degrees when we check it. And the check point is right here. And with the engine running, we should just have oil dribbling out. So we're going to do that next once we get to the right temp. Ready. Okay, we're checking the temp here with a thermal imaging camera, and the cross right in the middle, that temperature's right there, so we're at 111. The hottest in the screen is right here, 114, so we're right in that range where we want to be checking it. And what we do to check it, it's got to be running. We've got the thermostat open, and this is a, what is that, a 5mm? Yeah, it's a 5mm socket for that check plug right there. And what we're going to do is start it up. And when we start it, we're going to let it run for a little bit, and then we'll take this plug out, and we should have fluid just dribbling out. Okay, go ahead and start it. Okay, so that's what it looks like when it's full, and between 109 and 118 degrees. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to pull that pan down. There's a drain plug right here. We can drain it. We'll pull that pan down and get that everything changed. Get the magnets in there. 1, 2. There's 3 magnets in there. We're going to clean, but we'll get that down and show you that next. Okay, we got a drain plug right here. It's a 14mm head. We're going to pull that out and drain out the tranny. All these bolts around here are 10mm head. Once we're done draining it out, we're going to pull that down. Okay, we've got the pan off. There's 4 bolts that need to be taken out on this transmission filter. And they're at 10mm. It's going to want to dribble some fluid down at you, so be prepared for that. Come on. There we go. Alright. And the other thing you want to make sure of, there's an O-ring on here. Sometimes that O-ring will hang up here in that bore, so make sure you get that O-ring out. Alright, that's it for pulling the filter down. Okay, we got 4 magnets in there. This is what it looked like when we brought it down. The fuzz that's on those magnets is from the normal break-in. And what we're going to do is pull those magnets out. You know, that's just mostly from the gears getting mated in that first, 20-30,000 miles. Okay, so we're going to clean that all out. When I clean those magnets, I just take a rag and soak off as much of it as I can all around the edges, and then I'll spray it. What I'm using is ether. If you're using ether, make sure there's no sparks around or you're going to be in fire. But it cleans and cuts that oil, gets them nice and clean, and I blow them dry. So when I'm all done, they look just like brand new. So we're going to clean these other 3 magnets. We're going to clean the pan. We're going to put a new gasket on, and then I'll show you the procedure for putting the filter on. Okay. We got the magnets all cleaned up. We're going to put them back in their spots. And we're going to put a new gasket on. Make sure I get this on here the right way. The other thing I'm going to point out is right here is the stem where you're taking your check plug out to check the fluid level. So when that transmission's up to temperature, that fluid level is going to be pretty much level with this this little checkpoint right here, or this little dowel tube, whatever you want to call it. So that kind of gives you some idea of the level of that tranny fluid with the engine running, and at between 109 and 115 degrees. Okay, so next thing is we're going to put the transmission filter up. Okay, the first thing with putting up that filter is the bolts. The longer bolts are for your pan, the short bolts, there's 4 short bolts for the transmission filter. Okay, so before you put the filter up, there's an O-ring goes on there. And let me shut off my headlight here so we're not flashing the screen. And that O-ring goes right on the outside of that bore right there where it goes up into the case. So these bolts, they get torqued to, I'm going to put a little oil around that, they get torqued to 85 inch-pounds. So we just put them up there finger tight, and then we'll torque them down with a torque wrench to 85 inch-pounds. Okay, so once we're torqued, we're going to be ready to put that pan back up. So we'll torque these and then we'll be back with you.
Ready.
Okay, I've already cleaned up all this gasket surface here. Now make sure that's clean all the way around. Make sure there's no dirt or anything in there. And then we can go ahead and go back up with the transmission pan. And there's 12 bolts. They get torqued to 65 inch-pounds. So we're going to go ahead and put all these bolts in. Get them all torqued up. Okay, the drain plug here, we're going to torque that to 15 foot-pounds, which is 180 inch-pounds. Okay, we've got our drain plug here torqued. And I've got the check plug back in, just finger tight so it don't leak. And over here by the drive shaft, right up here, is your fill plug. Okay, and that fill plug, try and get a light on it here. It's either 24mm or 15/16. They're both the same size. You can use either one, metric or standard, 15/16 or 24mm. And what we'll do there is take that loose, and it's not in the best spot for refilling. If you got a pumper, it works pretty good. Let me get up there. Get that baby loose. There we go. Okay. Okay, a little more light over here. So, if you don't have a pumper, what you may have to do is get like a 5/8 OD hose, because a 5/8 OD I believe will fit right inside there. Yeah, well, 5/8 OD. You can get some poly tubing at Lowe's or Home Depot or Menards, and you may have to run it up along to the top side of the engine and put a funnel on. What I'm going to use is a pumper, and I measured the fluid I got out. I got out about 1.5 gallons. We're going to be doing a flush, so I'm going to put in probably about 2 to 2.5 gallons initially. This thing holds a total of a little over 12 quarts total fill. So we're going to put in, yeah, I'm overfilling it, but we're going to be pumping it right back out that cooler line, so it isn't as though we're driving it over full. What we're doing is flushing out the torque converter and everything. So we'll go ahead and put the fluid in, and I'll show you the procedure for doing the flush and which line to take off up by the radiator. Okay, we're underneath the front of the engine compartment here. I got my hand on the lower radiator hose. There's 3 hoses over here. There's one right over here for your power steering cooler line. And the next one over is a transmission supply going up to the cooler. And then the one right beside it right here, the last one we're looking at, that's the one you want to take off. That's the return line going back to the transmission. And it's just a spring clamp. You can put a needle nose pliers on there, move the spring clamp up the hose, and we'll take that hose off, and then we'll take that to a drain pan. This hose right here, we'll put an adapter in and go to a drain pan, and then we'll start doing this flush. So we'll get that off and show you that next. Okay, we've got this, I made an adapter to go in just out of some 3/8 fuel line into that hose, and then I extended it down here. And I tried to put in about 2 gallons, and it started coming out of that fill plug, so that's about as much you're going to get in, is just shy of 8 quarts. So we're about as full as we can go in that tranny right now. We're going to go ahead and flush it, and we're going to see, what we're going to do is basically run it until we see a good color change in the fluid. When we see it turn to a nice cherry red, we're going to stop, and then we're going to refill the tranny and recheck the level and button things up. So go ahead and start it up. Okay, I'm getting a nice, looking at a nice cherry red right now. It's looking really good. Okay, shut it off. So yeah, right there you can see we got a real nice cherry red. It's definitely changed color. We got most all that old fluid out. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, we're going to hook up that cooler line again. And then I'm going to go through the procedure for checking this fluid level in the transmission, and then we'll be pretty well done with this. So we'll get that line hooked up and we'll be back with you. Okay, we've got the transmission cooler line back on and the clamp back on it, and initially I put in just shy of 8 quarts because it was running out of that fill plug on the side of the tranny. So what we're going to do now is we're going to see where our level's at, see if there's any running out here. No. Okay, so we pumped down quite a bit in that tranny. So what I'm going to do is fill that fill plug in that fill plug again until it starts running out here. Then I'm going to put the plug back in, and I'll probably put in about an extra quart or so, and then we'll start it up, and we'll get a level up to about where we need to with it running. Okay, and then I'll put the plug back in, and we're going to let the temperature get back up to 109 to 118 degrees. And then we'll do our final check and see where we're at. So we'll go ahead and do that and get back with you. Okay, we're going to add some fluid here till it comes out of that hole. This transmission had about 50,000 miles on it, so it gives you some idea what it looked like at 50,000. The other thing is if you've got a real nasty tranny, you may have to flush it more than once till you get that nice cherry red color coming out. Okay. So I'm going to add about an extra, probably close to a quart here. So I'm going to add about an extra, I'm going to do a half a quart here, and then we're going to start it up. Okay, go ahead and start it. We're going to keep filling it now until it comes out again. Okay, there it is. We're going to put that plug in, and we're going to let this thing warm up until we get it up to that 109 to 118 degrees, then we'll recheck it again. Okay, now we've got this up to temp here. We're at about 117 degrees. Okay, so we're right where we need to be. We're going to go ahead and start it up. Go ahead. Probably going to be a little bit over full because the fluid's heated up. As it heats up, it expands. Not quite. May add a little bit more fluid, just a little until it comes out. There it is. Okay. But right there is what we want. Go ahead and set in it and run it through all, run it through forward and reverse. We're going to run it through the gears and make sure, double check here. Alright, that's good. Go ahead and go back to park. We're going to double check it here again. Okay, I'm happy with that. So we're going to torque that fill plug to 29 foot-pounds. This check plug here is going to give 15 foot-pounds. Okay, one last thing after you do your final fluid check is to remove that drill bit that bypassed that transmission thermostat, transmission cooler thermostat. So just one last thing. All right, that's it.
Thank you for watching my video. Be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel at youtube.com/c/Donsoil. I'd like to introduce you to Amsoil synthetic lubricants. We have the most complete line of synthetic lubricants on the market that offer you greatly reduced wear, extended drain intervals, longer equipment life. You can check that out at my website, donsoil.com. I also have a website for looking up fluid capacity. It's fluidcapacity.com. You can go there and print off the capacity of your engine oil, cooling system, transmission, transfer case, differentials. Be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Don Synthetic Lubes. Thank you and have a great day.